Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching this recording. In this recording, we're going to be going over a menu example that I've developed. I have to say that it took quite a bit of time. Maybe that stems from my my experience with developing menus on the so quickly, but definitely set aside enough time to get this completed because I have to say, doing a little bit of research and stuff like that, this was probably the most time-consuming piece of this. So definitely allocate yourself enough time to get this finished. So here's my example of uh, my menu. This is again a business luncheon, a Canadian business luncheon. And here it is. I have an appetizer first, followed by a super salad, my three main courses, and my two desserts. Okay. Um, Now, I've created this in Word. I'd like you to do the same thing. Um, One thing that I found particularly helpful in Microsoft Word was the use of being able to justify the text to the left, right, or the center. For instance, I have my menu center justified here. Okay. You also feel free to use different fonts, italics, bolded, unbolded text, things like that to highlight certain portions of your menu. For instance, I have my title in the title font for Calibre. Anyway, however you say that. I also have the rest of the font in the same style, and you should keep, if you're using one style for one particular kind of font for your title, you should use it for the rest of your menu as well. You want to look consistent, okay? So a brief overview of my menu. I've already told you that I have appetizer, soup, salad, main courses, and the desserts. For my appetizer, I have bacon wrapped scallops. The description on the menu is scallops lightly seared in butter, laid on a bed of arugula, tossed in lemon oil, served with a citrus cranberry puree. Okay. Some things I'd like to call out in this example is that um, you get an idea of how it's prepared when I say lightly seared in butter. So there's a little bit of the method there. You also get an idea of a little bit of the height because I'm laying it on a bed of arugula. So they have an idea of what it's going to look like when it's actually plated. And then I have the various other components of the dish, being the dressing for the arugula and the side of cranberry citrus puree. Okay. Um, And then next I have my super salad. In terms of choices, I have a beef barley soup. The description is seasoned tender chunks of Canadian A beef in a delicious beef broth with barley, carrots, and potatoes. Okay. Um, some quality descriptors here is seasoned Canadian AAA beef. I also give an idea of maybe some color that's working in this dish by saying beef broth. Broth is brown with some carrots and potatoes. So you have an idea of what this dish would look like as well in terms of a color perspective. Next, I have a chopped salad. So I have corn, red onions, celery, Roma tomatoes, and red peppers mixed and placed upon. So again, giving an idea about the height and positioning of those ingredients. Placed upon romaine and iceberg lettuce, tossed in a lime peanut dressing, topped with crisp corn tortilla chips, and finished with a peanut sauce drizzle. So again, the topped with corn chip tortillas, crisp corn tortillas, gives an idea of where that item is going to be located and how this dish actually looks. Next, up here I have a little A in brackets. I'll get into what that means later, because I thought that was a pretty cool addition. The main courses I have, there are three. My fresh trout, which is pan-seared, again, giving an idea to how it's prepared. Topped with a lemon aioli, so you know exactly where that's going on the dish. and then placed on top of local carrots and green beans. So that gives you an idea to the height of this seared trout in comparison to the top of the plate, and then served with a side of creamy dill rice. Okay, here the creamy dill rice that's just like a quality or taste note that you can that I've thrown in here. In the guest's mind, they know that this rice is going to be a little different because it's going to be creamy. Okay, so just a descriptor there. Next is my Collingwood sandwich, which is a smoked turkey, ham, and kielbasa loaf baked on a focaccia bun with a mustard aioli, hot peppers, and arugula, served with a side of fresh cut fries. Again, quality descriptors: fresh cut. Method of cooking: it's a baked sandwich. Descriptors as to what the bun is made of: it's a focaccia bun. And yeah. Next is my Ivanhoe stew. It has a little S in brackets. Again, we'll get to that in a second. It's kielbasa sausage, pepperoni, chorizo sausage, and local farmer sausage, stewed in a mildly spicy tomato base, and served with a warm cheddar cheese biscuit. Okay. Descriptors such as warm, they know that when they get their biscuit, it should be warm, so there's a quality description there. They know exactly how this has been prepared, all those items. The sausage, pepperoni, and more sausage, and even more sausage, has been stewed, and has some tasting notes as saying this stew is going to be mildly spicy, and that it has a tomato base. Okay. Oddly enough, the last two items are actually dishes that I've had in the past, and they're actually really good, although they're named kind of funky. And then next, we have the two desserts that I have. We have a strawberry pastry. I really didn't know what to call this because I was kind of making this very quickly. It's an airy pastry filled with a sweet whipped cream topped with a strawberry reduction. Okay, so you have an idea of how this strawberry topping is produced. It's a reduction. The pastry is filled with sweet whipped cream, so they have an idea of what this is going to look like and how it's being prepared. Next, we have a cheesecake, a decadent, again, descriptor word, moist, more descriptor words, chocolate cake served with a white chocolate icing and fresh raspberries. Again, quality descriptors, fresh raspberries, not frozen. Yeah, so this is kind of what my menu looks like. As I was saying before, there was some items that had a little S, A, or V in brackets, and then those mean things. So I've created a little legend at the bottom. The V stands for a vegetarian item. S means spicy. A means common allergens present. These are good to have on your menu just so your guests, it can answer some pretty quick questions that a lot of guests might have. For instance, if I'm a vegetarian sitting down in your event, I immediately want to know which items are vegetarian. So we know that because there's a V by the fresh trout, it is vegetarian, assuming that the vegetarian eats fresh fish. Next one, S is for spicy. The Ivanhoe stew. Some people have a thing about spice. I mean, I love everything spicy. I put Frank's literally on everything. Honestly, if I could get another job, it would be with Frank's because I just love it so much. And hopefully I'd get free Frank's Red Hot Sauce. But in terms of guests, some people don't like it overly spicy. While I've described how spicy it is in the menu description, people still might be a little cautious about it, and the S here just lets our guests know that this in fact is a spicy dish, or it has some spice to it. A means common allergens. I mean, there's a ton of allergies people have. People can have asparagus allergies, all the way to and from citrus, mushroom, whatever. You know what I mean? But there are allergens that are more common than others. For instance, peanuts. And you can mark those on your menu because my chopped salad has a lot of peanut in it. you can mark it with an A, or in this case I did, just to show people with allergies that, or people that have allergies, that they can immediately ask what allergens are in there, or even remind some people that they do have an allergy and they should be asking, because you'd be surprised how often that happens. Even over the weekend, somebody with a dairy allergy, or what was it? Sorry, it was a nut allergy, and they wanted our it was a pesto penne. Pesto penne, and they didn't know that most pestos have pine nuts in them, so that was fun. She was okay, just it was a mild allergy, so she said she'd be fine, but she didn't let us know previous to her eating it, so some people forget to ask. This just helps them prompt that question. Okay, so overall, I like the layout of my particular menu. Your menu may or may not look the same. It's all in turn up to you in terms of your creativity and your development of your menu. Some things that I would call out on this particular menu is that if I was marking my own menu, and I kind of did this on purpose, is that some of the items on my menu don't scream Canadian culture or cuisine, or even have I think it just I designed it so it lacks a little bit of cohesion between my theme, country, and event. For instance, beef barley soup. I tried to justify having beef barley soup at a business lunch, and I couldn't necessarily. So maybe there was a better soup I could have chosen. The desserts, the strawberry pastry, and the chocolate cake. Again, linking this back to Canadian cuisine and things like that, it's hard to justify that I put these on here because of the cuisine or country that I've chosen. There's just not much of a link there, you know. The bacon wrapped scallops as well. I mean, there's a lot of restaurants that have scallops on it, but it's not necessarily Canada is not known for their scallops necessarily, but there are some countries that are. So one tip that I would give you is, in terms of building your menu items, go on the internet, and when you're doing research, and identify what the main source of proteins, or what proteins are more popular in what countries. For instance, Portuguese eat a lot of fish and chicken, and you could use those to build in your menu, and you could justify having them on your menu and linked to your country because that is some of the protein that is associated with that particular country. Okay. Look at things that are food items that are produced in that country and maybe exported to others. So, for instance, if this was a Mexican menu and I was putting a drink pairing on here, or something like that, I could have tequila. Tequila is very easily associated with Mexico and would be in line with my country and my theme. Okay, so try and look for those linkages and keep that in mind with your research. In terms of how I want assignment number 1 submitted, I would like it submitted in in terms of format, I would like it submitted in Word. So I'd like to see your menu on one page, and trying to keep it to one page because a 2-page menu gets messy. Keep in mind that if you were to put this in front of a guest, how easily would they be reading your menu? Probably not too easy if they had a 2-page menu. Anyway, I'd also like to see a bit of a justification to why you picked that country, the theme of your event, as well as the demographic. And I'd also like you to include at least 1 to 2 sources where you got your demographic information. Okay, I'll go over this more in class about the submission requirements. Okay. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in class.